a weekly podcast about nerd culture, nerd news, nerd relationships, and sometimes goblins. I'm Leslie.
And I'm Jared. What's the second podcast anniversary present?
I think just recording, probably.
I have an old library card.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you. I got you this half-empty coffee from Starbucks.
Oh my god, it's just what I wanted.
It's actually mostly empty though.
Yeah, this
I
is
drank
okay.
it. Yeah.
Thanks.
Hooray! Okay, so let's get to the news.
Let's do it.
So first up, on Tuesday of this week, The New Yorker, of all places, had an article on Dungeons & Dragons.
Ah, sophisticated.
Which I read, and I kind of regret it.
Humble brag.
Yeah, I read The New Yorker. so
fancy.
You know. I think I actually have a New Yorker tote. Yeah. Anyway, it was pretty classic, The New Yorker. Mm-hmm. So the basic gist, well, I'll tell you the title first, which I think you'll understand immediately my beef with this entire article.
Yeah.
The title is The Uncanny Resurrection of Dungeons & Dragons.
I don't recall Dungeons & Dragons ever going away.
Yeah, I don't think Dungeons & Dragons ever died. And so I read the whole article, like, okay, so do you have some numbers maybe of less people playing it? Or, you know, I do know that financially they've had some issues. No, none of that.
None of what we would call journalism.
No evidence
Okay.
of any kind. Their evidence seemed to be they stopped hearing about it, and Gary Gygax died. That was their evidence of Dungeons & Dragons going away. So by resurgence, they mean I heard about it again, which is...
Well, I'm happy to put the New Yorker on blast since they've never accepted any of my cartoon caption contest submissions. So let's really let them have it on this one.
Well, you know, I do suggest if you want to take that seriously, you might mention butts maybe like 40% less of the time.
Fewer butts.
Fewer butts
And poop jokes.
Yeah, overall.
No, I'm going to follow my creative heart.
Follow your heart, that's true. So anyway, I did want to talk about some interesting things in the article.
Yeah.
That they really seem to gloss over the cool point to go for the, like, you know, the very normal New Yorker, have you heard of X thing that I discovered.
Yeah.
But one of the interesting things that I have actually heard of in other places was that people are using it as therapy now, especially with anxiety disorders and autism. So the quote from the article was, her son was dyslexic and had been role-playing at Brooklyn Strategist, which is kind of a board game type venue, which was the center of this whole article, for a couple of weeks. Before D&D, he couldn't focus on writing for more than a few seconds. Now he was staying up all night to draft stories about his character. And I think, you know, we've both seen this a lot.
Yeah, you bet.
And personally, I was an incredibly anxious child / teenager / adult forever. And Dungeons & Dragons and role-playing games really was therapy for me.
I can certainly see that. You know, partly we have been gaming for years and years and years, mostly on every other weekend. And honestly, I have found that it is a good way to have friends and to have some social structure when you're an adult trying to make friends, which isn't always easy. It kind of gives an organic way to keep the conversation going and to give you a reason to, you know, sit around and snack together and cook dinner together and do something that has a built-in element to help you engage each other.
Yeah, well, and that's really part of the adult Dungeons & Dragons experience, isn't it? It's like cooking together and doing food together and family, like almost a family thing together.
Nerd cocktail party.
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah. But I think from just a mental standpoint, it gives you express permission to disconnect.
Yeah.
And not only to disconnect, but to recreate a world in which, you know, you can be whatever you want. And, you know, there's rules in which you can do that, but you can...
Just to be clear, was this from the New Yorker article?
No.
Oh,
this
okay.
was...
All right.
The only thing she happened to mention is, like, some kids like it because it de-stresses them, and
Okay.
that's why adults like it. I'm extrapolating.
Gotcha.
That was the interesting part of the article. I thought the whole article could have been about that.
Oh.
But, I mean, one of the points that she brought up in the article, and I'm sorry, I don't know if it's a she or a he, but I'm going to continue to say she, is she says, quote, the likes of Drew Barrymore and Vin Diesel regularly take up the 20-sided die. And she's talking about this as in, like, a present tense. And I want to go up to and ask her, where do you think they came from? Like, they didn't just start this a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Again, with the resurgence, like, they've always been playing. They've always been
Well,
playing.
and one thing I know is that, the center of most medical breakthroughs lately has been Vin Diesel.
Yes.
So,
Well, yes.
there's a whole school of medicine, as I understand
Yeah.
it,
Vin
surrounding
Dieselonics, I think.
Yeah, Vin Dieselonics.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got the cure for what ails you, whether you be fast or furious.
Right.
He's gonna solve your problems. Yeah. Yeah, Vin Diesel. I remember a interview with him many years ago on Conan when the first XXX movie came out. I know we all remember where we were when the first XXX movie was released, and he was talking about his long history with Dungeons and Dragons and how one of his fake tattoos for the character Xander Cage in XXX was his Dungeons and Dragons character name was tattooed on his stomach.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Can I do a self call out for both of us real quick?
I don't know why you wouldn't.
Yeah, we have not watched the new XXX movie, and what is wrong with us?
What are you doing?
What is wrong with us?
We just started this podcast. Now no one's going to
We
listen.
need to do that. Our next episode is just going to be us talking about XXX.
I can't think of anything you will say here that won't scare off listeners.
No, I'm sorry. No, we're not going to do that. But yes, we need to watch that.
Yes. We do.
Yeah.
That's what we do here, folks. We go from New Yorker articles to the new XXX movie at breakneck speed.
That's right. So I can chew on this New Yorker or any New Yorker article for being pretentious for quite a while, but maybe we should move on.
How dare you, madam?
Oh,
Yeah.
I dare.
You want me to do a thing?
Yeah, do you have a thing?
Yeah, I have a thing. John Hodgman is my thing. So I got into John Hodgman, I don't know, in the early 2000s. He started releasing books of nonsense facts. You can guess why that appeals to me. I think the first one was called Areas of My Expertise, and then More Information Than You Require, and then That Is All. If you don't know the name John Hodgman, you've probably seen him on The Daily Show, or he was the PC in the Mac commercials for a while. He just released a new book last week called Vacation Land, True Stories from Painful Beaches. And, it is a very fun book. It's a funny book, but it's also a very serious book, which is a departure from him, and that he really tries to be honest with himself about. I think he feels like he's done with fake facts. That we might have a few too many fake facts today, and
Well, that's probably true.
yeah, and public life, and I don't know, highest levels of government. So He kind of takes a hard look at his life and what's next for him and entering middle age. And as I say those things out loud, I know that doesn't necessarily sound funny, but it's, the book is like a 5-hour read, and I found it really laugh out loud funny, and I want to use the word charming. It's just sort of a charming book.
Well, John Hodgman is charming.
Yeah, I mean,
he's kind of, from the moment I started watching him, he's sort of an adorable dad.
right.
I know he wasn't a dad when we started watching him, but he still was an adorable
He's kind of a human embodiment of a jacket with patches on the elbows.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So if that idea appeals to you, I think you'd really like it. He also has a podcast called The Judge John Hodgman Show, which is another way you could check him out to see if you might be interested in his work.
Personal question.
Yeah.
Are you just talking about the book because John Hodgman retweeted you?
No. But he did, though.
He did? Okay.
I wrote a book review, and he liked it. He likes me.
I don't know if those two are... Never mind.
Did you notice all the pictures I have of him posted up in my locker?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Why were you looking in my locker?
I just needed your leather jacket. God!
Yeah, Vacation Land. Check it out. For some reason, Amazon has it posted in travel books, which it is not. I mean, I guess he talks about maybe 3 different cities, but...
I mean, I started it, and the whole first part of it is about his beard. That's not travel bookish.
No, that's, he apologizes for his beard a lot, and he should.
Yeah.
But we're going to forgive him for that.
When are you going to apologize for your beard?
Never. You'll have to pry it from my cold, dead face.
I don't want it. I just want an apology.
You want it.
All right.
I see you coveting my beard.
Okay.
What do you got next?
Next up, a real quick one. So Polygon called October 27th the biggest game release day in history.
Polygon, the video game website?
Yes.
Okay.
Because we had 3 huge titles released on one day, which almost never happens. They really try to not compete with each other.
What were those titles, Leslie?
Super Mario Galaxy,
okay,
which was the first 3D since their last 3D.
Cool.
Wolfenstein 2, and the new Assassin's Creed. Were all released on the same day.
And what's fascinating is it's all the same video game. It's a 3 brand crossover where you're assassinating Nazis as Mario
In space.
Yes. Correct?
I think so.
Good yes and.
I would play the hell
that actually sounds way more appealing.
Oh my god.
Than any of the...
I don't care what system that game is on.
But, okay, so my own personal bias, not that interested in Assassin's Creed. You may have heard me ramble on about how I didn't like Assassin's Creed last time. Gotta love Mario.
Who doesn't love Mario?
Gotta love Mario and his wacky friends.
And their physics is always so delightful and fun when they play around with it.
Yeah, I don't have much to say to someone who doesn't like Mario.
Yeah, why don't you like Mario? It's just, it's great. It's like people who don't like chocolate. Like, why even bring that up?
Oh, you don't like joy?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Are you just trying to make everyone dislike? I don't.
And Wolfenstein.
If you don't like chocolate, I'm super sorry. That's a very valid thing to think about.
Stick to your guns. And I'm old. I played Wolfenstein when it first came out as a shareware game. So I think it's sort of a fun, classic first-person shooter, but I have to, full disclosure, I haven't played it yet, but I keep seeing blurbs on the internet that seem to suggest to me that this one is particularly excellent.
What I have heard mostly about it is that the opening of it is brutal, like emotionally brutal.
Yes.
It kind of sounds perfect for me.
Go on.
Like a super brutal, emotionally brutal first-person shooter? Is this not like the Leslie genre of games?
Yeah, Leslie is the first-person shooter person of our family.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you think you're going to get it?
I think so.
Oh, cool.
I mean, it just sounds fun. It looks good. Heard good things about the gameplay, and I'm a big first-person shooter. I've been playing so much Overwatch lately. I kind of want just a straight-up first person, single player, first person shooter. Like, just let me go and explore and snipe, and I'm a happy camper.
Well, in Overwatch is maybe one of my favorite games of all time, but it's I love its cartoony flavor. It's sort of cartoony comic book flavor, but I could see you wanting a change in tone to something a little more serious.
One of the great things about video games is just the enormity of genres that are out there.
Yeah.
That I love a lot of. But one of the things that I do miss in Overwatch is playing with the environment, which I think is something that, like, as a genre, video games have that no other media has. No other media will let you interact with the environment. Movies, you might see it, it's background, it's information. Books, they'll hang a lantern on 1 or 2 things, but then you know that it's plot important. Video games will let you interact with the world. And if a video game doesn't let you do that, to me, there's always going to be something missing from it.
Yeah.
That was kind of my issue with the Halo games, honestly. They always, the background was there, but it wasn't really important in any way. It was just a space station.
They're leaving a tool on the table.
Exactly.
They're ignoring something that they can do in a video game to make it more engaging and enriching, and why on earth wouldn't you take advantage of that?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the reasons why if someone asks me what's my favorite video game, the first one that will always pop in my head is the original BioShock.
Oh.
And I know audience, I know that System Shock was the same game, etc., etc. But BioShock was my first time that I really felt like, oh, this is what is unique about video games that makes them different from movies, that makes them different from books, that makes them different from comic books. I can learn more and interact more the more I poke around.
Yeah.
And the more I interact with the walls and the floor, and it will change the game when you do that, even just from a personal level.
Well, one of these days we'll find $1,500 in a couch cushion and try a virtual reality rig.
Oh, well, yeah.
I think that's going to be...
Well, but I don't think they're to that
exciting
point
stuff.
yet.
Well, no.
Not quite.
No, probably not. We need a full-on holodeck, I suppose, for the kind of engagement you're talking about.
Well, we just need a point where the programming gets to the point where not only can you see things, you can fully interact with them.
Yeah.
When we get texture and, movement and that sort of thing, then I'll get excited. I mean, I am excited that it's moving forward, but I'm not ready to run out and buy a full rig yet.
Right.
Unless we find $1,500 in the couch cushion.
We might. What you got next?
Next up, I think we need to talk about loot boxes.
Okay. That's very personal, but go on.
Okay. No, that's not... Okay. So, loot boxes have become more and more popular in video games, and they're basically the concept that if you put in the time, regardless of how well you do, you get a box. And in that box are random in-game items you get to use.
Sure.
And those can be skins, or they can be... different models, they can be voice lines, they can be different weapons, they can be tokens that you can spend in game for more time or different levels. There's all sorts of things that they can be. Just a bunch of money that you can spend in game, all sorts of stuff. And these have become more and more common. And the idea is, well, there's a couple ideas behind it. The most innocent way to look at the idea is that it's just to reward gamers who might not be top level gamers but are putting a lot of time in. So no matter how much time you put in, you get something. Mm-hmm. And so people who are there, who show up, who play the games, they get something. The less innocent way of looking at it is just straight up gambling. It's a slot machine. You put your money in, you take your chances. And part of the reason that this argument comes up is you can either play and get the box, or you can spend real Earth money and just buy a bunch of boxes.
Right, and I think spending real Earth money is really the only way in which it could be considered gambling.
Yes.
Because otherwise it's just a fun mechanic of the game.
Right.
But suddenly if you can steal your parents' credit card and start spending money to get the super double Vorpal unicorn blaster, then maybe it is a little bit gambling.
Well, and we've all heard the stories, right, of the kid who got the parents' iPad and bought 6,000 nuclear daisies for Daisy Dash 500 and spent, $10,000 or whatever.
You need those daisies.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the parents are kind of out of luck.
So I feel like I have seen a little bit of this. So you're bringing this up because there was actually a legal case.
Yes.
Right?
Well, no, there wasn't a case. I had seen something about it, so I looked into it a little bit more. I think this really kind of came to the forefront earlier this month because there were a couple articles and smaller blogs sort of talking about whether or not they were moral, basically. And then on October 13th, Kotaku, the website, published a piece called "Loot Boxes Are Designed to Exploit Us," which is really good. Go check it out when you get the chance. And they had a quote directly from an Overwatch developer that talked about how they know this. They know that they're addictive. They know that they're exciting. And they even program the animations to kind of up that. And he said, when you start opening a loot box, we want to build anticipation. We do this in a lot of ways. Animations, camera work, spinning plates and sounds. We even build a little anticipation with a glow that emits from a loot box cracks before you open it. And I know that you and I both know this because, A, we have spent Earth money on loot boxes.
We sure have, Leslie.
We definitely have. I remember I had a bad day at work, and you bought me, 5 loot boxes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've done this, and we know how, we will, bring, people, if people are playing the game and we get a loot box, everyone will, what did you get? And we'll all sit and, wait for it. It's so exciting.
Well, this topic I find especially interesting because friends, listeners, your host Jared here has some serious trouble with impulse control.
What?
I've gotten better, but I'm a guy who usually doesn't allow myself to have a credit card, for example, because I have trouble spending money. So I have absolutely, in all likelihood, spent embarrassing amounts of money on stupid loot boxes because I wanted, a cartoon skin for one of my characters in a video game. But in terms of actually legislating this, if we're going to call this gambling, then don't we have to call buying a pack of baseball or Pokemon cards gambling, or those little figures you get from different fandoms at your local Hot Topic that just has a question mark on what figure you're going to get? If anything that isn't spending X dollars for X product that you know in advance is gambling, I mean, in terms of the precedent that would set, I would imagine that would have rumbles through a lot of different industries, right?
I mean, that's a good point. And you did ask, wasn't there some legal motion towards this? There isn't anything in the U.S. right now that I can tell. In the U.K., apparently the UK Labour MP of Cambridge formally questioned the Secretary of State for Digital, Cultural, Media and Sport. Yes. About what plans she has about this. And there has not, as far as I can tell, been an outcome of that yet. But apparently Jared discovered this word on the British Bake Off.
Soggy bottom.
Yes. Would you like to share that word a little louder?
Cockaliki?
Yeah. They just exclaim it with no explanation at one point in the show.
I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Is it?
Please continue. I'm sorry I used weird British baking slang.
No, I think it's wonderful. It's beautiful. You're my favorite pud.
Oh.
So the question is, do loot boxes fall under the laws that already exist
of gambling?
For this sort of thing, for this gambling? But I think you have a good point that where is the line?
Yeah. Yeah, this is your classic how much do you legislate to save people from themselves thing, right?
Yeah, but there definitely is a difference between and I don't even know what it is exactly, between standing in Hot Topic and buying a little mystery bag of Gudetama merchandise. I love Gudetama. Shut up. You're laughing at me. And sitting in front of your computer to buy digital nonsense.
Well, this is the same argument they have about actual casinos, right? That there are whole arms of science working at leveraging what we know about the human brain and what motivates us to do things or click a button, and weighing the impulse control of the individual versus the ability of this branch of science to manipulate you. I think sometimes government officials feel like the individual needs somebody to put a finger on the scale on their behalf.
Yeah, and especially since video games are so targeted towards children anyway. Mm-hmm. Especially something like Overwatch. I mean, I have been called names by 12-year-olds a lot. Actually, most of the 12-year-olds I meet on Overwatch are freaking delights. This one little kid, and he was the kind of age that, like, he couldn't quite do whole sentences yet. He had to keep pausing. Like, okay, guys, we're gonna go to the point. Every time one of our people died, he would tell them not to worry and that they were doing a good job. And I was like crying. I was like, bless this, like, may nothing happen to this child bad on this video game. Like, I will personally hunt down anyone who yells at this kid. Aww. It was delightful.
Well, I appreciate you saying children are being exploited, but there's also grown 36-year-old men with beards that sometimes get exploited by this kind of thing too.
Look, I'm still angry that you got the Overwatch summer skins on your first frickin' try, okay?
The Soldier 76 grilling skin? Yeah. Well,
I wanted one skin. I wanted one of them.
The Overwatch gods chose me. Deal with it.
Do you have anything else?
I do have one other thing I wanted to mention. I'm a big Mike Mignola Hellboy fan. And he has a new comic that's going to be released, I believe, Tuesday, October 31st, Halloween.
Ooh.
Yes. The comic is called Mr. Higgins Comes Home. And it is about, this is very Mike Mignola, it is about a sad werewolf who really just wants to die.
Oh my god.
And he has been singled out by a couple of vampire hunters. And the deal they make is that if the werewolf helps them hunt the vampires, they will kill him.
Oh, that is the most Mike Mignola thing I have ever heard.
So it's a standalone graphic novel, like the Screw On Head, and it comes out October 31st. I think it's pretty short, but you better believe I've pre-ordered it. So look out for that if you're a fan of Mignola.
Do we know when the new Hellboy movie is coming out? The one that he's not involved in?
I don't think we have that info yet, but maybe if I fill time while you furiously Google.
I am Googling. Tell us more about the sad werewolf, Jared.
Well, his name is Mr. Higgins, I assume. I would guess that he has some quantity of fur coming out of his face. One would imagine that he transforms tied to the... Are you still Googling?
It looks like we don't know.
Okay, we don't know yet.
Well,
No. So,
Okay.
we'll tell you.
We will tell you.
As soon as we know,
Yes, as soon as we know, you will know.
you will know.
All right.
That's one of the services we provide here at News Goblins.
I do believe that is all of the info we have for you this week. I do want to say thank you to the amazing outpouring of positive reviews
Yeah,
we've
you guys are
received on
great.
iTunes. That's been wonderful.
If you haven't given us a review on iTunes, please stop by and do that. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. And I have a YouTube channel that's up. We'll probably have some bonus content on there at some point.
And also, at some point here, I would like to have some opening emails section from you. So if there's any news you want to share or questions you might have, please go ahead and send us an email at newsgoblins@gmail.com.
Oh, and just a personal shout out. If any of you guys have Halloween costumes you want to share, please tweet that at us or put it on our Facebook because I want to see them.
That would be awesome.
Yes.
All right. Well, hey, number 2 down. We did it.
Yeah! Quiet high five. There we go.
Okay. All right. See you next week, everybody.
See you